Oops, that happens if you're a failed coach. Hey, everybody, happy Monday. Lovely people of LinkedIn, lovely people of YouTube. We're going live both on YouTube and LinkedIn. On YouTube, if you want to check some of our past interviews, like the one with Mira's husband, Peter, which we did last Monday, the easiest way is to go to my YouTube channel instead of scrolling through my LinkedIn newsfeed. It will be much faster, and you can watch all the replays from the last 3 months or something on there. But before I go into too much random rambling, our guest today is Mira. I had the pleasure of talking to her husband last Monday about Clubhouse, and today with Mira, we will be talking about leadership. So Mira, welcome to the show, and please do introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
Hi, Miha. Thank you for having me. I am a leadership and transformational coach. I co-founded the Mind Takeaway company with Peter, and we're also co-hosting Mind Takeaway podcast, and we have a new podcast that was just launched today. Actually, it is Unlearning Labels, and we speak a lot about diversity and inclusion over there. My work is focused on guiding people to mental clarity and helping them remove or overcome their limiting beliefs, and they get more confident and comfortable, and bring back that belief that in themselves as leaders of their own life and also leaders of other people.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Well, what are some of the most... So you're mostly working with leaders, so this is not so much for the entrepreneurs. Well, we are all human, we all have limiting beliefs, but your work is more structured towards leaders in mid-sized and bigger corporations, right?
Yeah. But
okay.
My clients go as far as 16 years old musician. So
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, so let's start there. Like, what are some of the most common limiting beliefs that you see when you're talking to people, when you're starting to work with clients? What are some of the most common ones? Let's start there.
Well, it is. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. It's a fear of failure. So that's a belief that they need to do everything right. That nobody can see. Nobody can see. Their weak sides. Their vulnerabilities, and also there is this. And that's the most common one that includes a lot of things. It's this idea of who we should be in life, and that is usually created, especially in early life, that is usually created by school, by parents, by society, and there is this one thing of being that is right, and then we often can't. We often compare ourselves with the idea, and when that's not matching, then we are failing and not aligning ourselves with our authentic self, if that makes sense. So, and that is holding us back. That is not allowing us to go forward. It's like walking through the life and carrying a big stone with you. It's heavier, it's more difficult, it's much more difficult to change, to pivot, to change your mind, to change directions in life, change directions of your work. And so that stuck picture of ourselves, and then comparison to it, and then low self-esteem, low confidence, I'm not good enough, I'm not resilient enough. I won't be able to deal with this if that happened. And then also, how other people see us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I call all of what you mentioned like the little inner demons that are in all of us to some extent, and more present or less present. But I think we all at least had them or have them at any given time throughout our life. So what you're helping your clients is quite inner work. It's quite personal, and
Yeah.
mostly those are the hardest things to work on when you have to work on the inner self. So where do you start? How does that work start? And yeah, let's try and maybe you can give some examples or share some stories. You don't have to name any client, but just so that maybe the audience can resonate more easily with how you help people, and if they have some of the same feelings, maybe they can have some good takeaways from it.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it, to kind of go back, step back. People usually think that they need to learn more skills, and there is this magic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to be a better leader, but actually it's all inner work. But so yeah, people come to me when they've usually tried a lot and things didn't work, or when they're struggling. Usually very high stress is, or I want to do something and I don't know how. Like usually for coaching, this is what people would come to me and you probably as well. And we start from really getting to know each other. And I'm not just saying me getting to know my client, but actually my client getting to know themselves.
So kind of the first pillar of emotional intelligence, the self-awareness part.
Yeah.
You start there. So you're kind of like the mirror. You put a mirror to them so that they can start discovering what that reflection is saying in the mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really interesting is that, people get surprised of how much amazing stuff is in that mirror. Not what they think, but what is actually already there. Amazing stuff about themselves, things they're capable about, things that they've done they forgot because they're focused on this negative picture of themselves, and miracles happen from doing that. Yeah.
Well,
Change. Yeah.
Maybe you have more the official explanations, but why is it that we brush off the successes, we brush off the little wins, big wins so easily? Like, oh yeah, okay, that was a good thing, and we just move on. But then when it comes to the negative stuff, we obsess about it, we dream about it, we think about it. How come it's so hard for us humans to find at least some balance between acknowledging the wins, the good stuff, and of course being aware of the bad stuff? But we so much go towards the negative, and yeah, it's so hard for us. I guess even more for us Europeans. I would say the Americans are a little bit better about acknowledging what they're good at. But especially here in Europe, it's almost like, ooh, I'm ashamed if somebody gives me a compliment.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Even now, sometimes it happens to me. I catch myself, criticizing myself for stuff that absolutely, I shouldn't be doing, but or feeling uncomfortable with the compliments. Yeah, I think a lot of it is from society and how we are brought up. But the reason why we so focus and obsess on the negative is because for some reason our mind thinks that this is how we change for the better. That's one of the things. The other thing is we focus on negative in order to try to avoid it, and that comes from, you know, the stress and fear, flight and fight reaction. We are much more observant and focused on things that are scary, that can be dangerous, that can harm us in any way. And this is why that's what we notice first. And then, but the thing is, our mind doesn't really know the difference of, you know, are we in a meeting or are we actually being threatened, you know, if our life is in danger, and it reacts the same way. So until we actually see, until we become aware of what is going on, we can't just force that change. It gets worse. You know, the more you're trying to beat yourself up for beating yourself up, I mean, imagine what happens. Yeah, so we really need to,
Yeah. Well, Mira, so you start with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Are there any good exercises or, like anything that perhaps our audience can do by themselves that could help them? Or maybe there are some tests online, or I don't know, like what would you maybe give as an example or an idea how they can approach a little bit discovering who they are?
Well, let me think what could be interesting. Well, the first step would be connecting with our feelings, but that can be quite uncomfortable at first. If somebody is not used to it, then the second thing would be asking yourself, what are you most afraid of? And then asking yourself another question, what if that actually happens? How would I deal with that? And then when you answer that question, another question is, what is the actually possibility of that really happening? And so this is how we can bypass the automatic behavior when we are faced with something that is scary to us. Another thing is,
we do tend to overblown when we are just thinking about something. We do, kind of like, ooh, this crazy stuff can happen that's almost out of the world. And then when we are a little bit more logical about it, we see that, ooh, well, possibility of that happening, not that big.
Yeah, and bad things can happen. I mean, you know, life isn't just always nice and pink, but we are capable of dealing with much more than we actually are aware of. And also, I think journaling is really good, and it's really putting down on that paper all that stuff that we are good at. You know, whenever you think of something that you're not capable of, think of things that you are capable of.
Mira, I want to stop you here for a moment. I've had guests who said journaling. I know that every second personal business development book says journaling.
Yeah.
What I very rarely see is somebody explaining. And I guess up to now, I never stopped and asked my guests, like, okay, do you have a process? How do we approach? Because one thing is, well, I can take a pad and just start writing. Is that good enough? Or should there be maybe like a process or certain questions that I should go through? Like, what would you suggest, or how do you do your journaling? Like we often say, oh, be mindful, but then rarely somebody explains, well, how do you become mindful? Or oh, you should meditate. But, when you haven't meditated before, then you go and you sit in a chair and you start breathing, and nothing's really happening, and you're not sure, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong? And so I want to stop you a little bit, and maybe you can share your process or how you would suggest to somebody to start with the journaling.
Okay, there is one general way of journaling, and that's really free flow. It's free flow, and there is no rules, and you have a title for your story, for your book, that is called "I Was Born and Then," and that's a free falling. It's really whatever comes to your mind. And then the other type of journaling that I like to do in this exploration phase, if in getting aware of, becoming aware of what we are scared of what we don't like about ourselves, or what our limitations are, and started putting them on the paper. And give yourself a limit, not less than 500 words. And if you're doing it on a computer, it's usually easier, and not more than 700 words. So it kind of limits of, how far we can go with that. And there is an interesting thing that I've noticed, and it is that you go really negative usually for half of the text. Negative in terms of, I'm scared of this, and or I'm not good enough, and I'm bad because of this and because of that, and you go on, and then it starts transforming. But however, I have done this and this that is actually related to what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm actually not as useless as I think I am. And so this writing starts transforming, and to maybe just nudge it, put a note somewhere, and somewhere in the middle of your negative journaling, start the sentence with "however." And then this takes us on another spin, more positive spin, and from there we get insights, which then is really useful to implement. Like, if I couldn't write, I don't know, if I couldn't write notes for that person, okay, so let's say, what is difficult for people in leadership positions? Feedback. If you suddenly become aware that you were successful doing feedback, and it was a good thing for another person, don't wait to give feedback in 2 weeks, but do it today, so that you basically put those insights into action. And then once you start actioning on them, it becomes real. It becomes real to your mind, and it becomes real to your body. And it becomes a new updated picture of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds interesting. So, okay. When we move forward, so now they've done a little bit of, let's say, well, in your experience, do you think that we are capable of doing this self-reflection by ourselves, or is it really just the best to have a guidance from, a mentor, a coach, a therapist, whatever? Or can we do it by ourselves? Or is it like, it depends how deep those demons are in us?
Yeah, and I would, if you're starting with it, I would really suggest to have a mentor or a coach, or whoever it is, because there's things that come up that we don't know what they mean, we don't know how to deal with them, and we can get scared, or it's just, oh, useless, this doesn't work for me. But if you have somebody who is experienced that can guide you through the process, it's much faster, it's much easier, and And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
No, yeah, I
Yeah,
fully
yeah,
agree. I fully
yeah.
agree. Okay, so now let's say our audience has done at least a little bit of some self-reflection
Mm.
and they've written a few things down. What would be then the next step that you would take the client through in helping them overcome those obstacles or those limiting beliefs?
Mm. Well, they need to start. So that's a process of doing it. There's things that were difficult for them that now they need to start implementing. Stuff that you were scared of, you actually need to start doing. And then there is feedback. There is when we meet again, they will be telling me of this work, this didn't work, what happened, why it didn't work, what were the, I mean, again, it's not really that it didn't work. What were the results of what you did or didn't do? And then we work through those results. So it's basically embodied learning or learning as you go. So it's sometimes people can do things like learn, um, go through the process, but then if they don't actually do it in a real life, it just becomes, it doesn't get to the stage of where it becomes part of you.
Well, that's true. I mean, I remember many years ago, I loved salsa, and so I started doing some salsa dancing lessons. And I remember the teacher saying, for each lesson that you have here once a week, you have to go out there, you have to go to the clubs at
Mm.
least 3 or 4 times a week, and dance for another 1 or 2 hours. Otherwise, if you just come back every Monday, you will not learn anything. Or, I
Mhm.
mean, it will be like starting from scratch every single time. So there needs to be a balance between learning and applying, only a balanced solution. If you just
Yeah.
go out there and do like crazy, well, you might be doing all the wrong things. So it's good to stop a little bit and rethink what you're doing. But
Mm.
if you're just learning and not applying, well, yeah,
It ends
nothing
up
will
being
happen.
theory. Yeah, and it ends up being theory, and then people wonder why it didn't work. But there's an interesting thing that actually just crossed my mind. I hear from people, and that was also my experience, that they didn't even notice when something changed. Like there was no there was no huge boom or aha or all these how it's often described in literature. Oh, now he had a huge aha moment and then everything has changed. It's really interesting how we start change very subtly, and start noticing how, oh, I used to do that before, but I'm not doing it anymore. Or I used to be really scared before, I would have done this, but now I didn't even notice that I did it. Or like other people notice the change in you before even you notice. Oh, you've become more, you're talking much more, you're more comfortable around these people, like I've never seen you like that before, and stuff like that. That's also very interesting to me, that sometimes we are not even we are not consciously aware of our transformation. We see it through actions, and that we do differently, feelings that are different, and also other people notice that a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Sometimes we have these big changes where we have the aha moment.
Mm.
Well, one happened to me with my coach about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. I had this huge aha moment just after one coaching session. And yeah, sometimes those little things, they just start piling up, piling up, piling up. And because you see yourself in the mirror every day, it seems like you're still the same. It's nothing's really happening. But then maybe people who haven't seen you in a while notice those changes before you even notice them, I guess. Well, Mira, as we are coming to a close of this interview, and I really appreciate you for sharing all of this, valuable information, but there's still a few questions I want to ask you. So the question number one, if, people in the audience who are watching this right now and they resonate with this and they're like, ooh, you know what? That could be something I should work on. I want to become a better leader. I want to get rid of some of those limiting beliefs. What's the best way to, find you, get in touch with you? Is it LinkedIn, website? What do you prefer?
Well, it's both. I'm on LinkedIn as Mira Culić Griffiths, and the website is www.themindtakeaway.com. So either way, I will get the message.
Okay, perfect. And who is that typical, at what leadership level or something, like, do you have like, an ideal client that should reach out to you, that, you most often work with or have best results with?
Well, it's usually, well, it's really interesting. I often work either with young ladies, so the female population, or older gents, and that was quite interesting for me to notice. And it's not something that I chose; it's just something that's happening. And they're usually in leadership positions, so it doesn't have to be high up, depending if you're young and you're in the beginning of your journey, but you really want to either change career and get onto a either higher leadership role or start your own entrepreneurial journey, but there is inner stuff. But that's more your domain, Miha. And then people that want to change the way they lead. There's lots of stress, there's lots of pressure, there's lots of running, rushing, and they want to actually enjoy their life a little bit more and be better humans to others.
Okay, yeah, that's good explanation. So, dear audience, if you recognize yourself, if you recognize that you have some of those issues, some of those inner demons, as I like to call them, reach out to Mira. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, she's tagged in the post. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, then I'm sure there's a link somewhere there, or you can just go to my LinkedIn and check it there. Well, Mira, I would say we have time for one more, but I have two questions, so I'll let you choose which one do you prefer. So often I ask my guests because I know my audience is curious and they want to know a little bit about the person as well, not just the business knowledge, but also little bits and pieces from their life. So you can either choose to share, something about you, or if you prefer, another question that I often ask is, regardless of the topic that we talked about, it can be related to it or not, what would be that last golden nugget of wisdom that you would want to leave the audience with, like, you have to remember this?
Okay, well, let me go with the first one, and it's not because I want to show off. It's because I know that people remember human stories, and there's and if there is a story that I can tell, I'll rather do that than talk theory. So things about me, I was a refugee as a child, and that label, that idea I carried with myself subconsciously as a limitation for a big part of my life. And then becoming a leader, my limiting beliefs were really, were taken from that idea of myself, that I'm a refugee and I can't do this and I'm not supposed to do that, and I can't say, I can't argue with people, I can't really stand up for myself, I don't belong somewhere and or anywhere, or so it was lots of things that really came from that idea of myself that I had, and I wasn't aware of it. It was really just just blocks on the journey. I had no idea where they were coming from. I had no it just looks like I'm not okay, I'm not right, I'm not good enough, I'm just I just can't do this, until I actually did the work that that I'm doing right now, and then I changed, and it was interesting that now I see my past as a value, as a lesson learned, rather than something that I had to discredit or push behind the carpet. And so the nugget of wisdom that would come from that is that those limited perceptions of ourselves and our abilities are just perceptions. There is so much under there that is worth exploring, and it's worth doing it, because it really can. It doesn't transform just your work life. It transforms everything.
Yeah, it's really the stories that we tell ourselves, and
Absolutely.
when we repeat them so often, they become real in our mind, even
Yeah.
though they are really just stories.
Yeah.
And somebody else with different background, different upbringing, or whatever, in the same situation, could tell themselves a completely different
Different
story.
story. Yeah, and it's all individual. So it's personal exploration is important, and especially if you're a leader, you have duty to do that, because you're dealing with people, you're in relationships with others, people depend on you, people look up to you, people's lives depend of our decisions and how we see them,
Yeah.
how so
Yeah. And being a leader is not a title that somebody
yeah.
gave you in HR. You have to earn it. And the best way to earn the title of being a leader is to walk your talk. And so if you want your team to change, your coworkers to change, well, you have to change first and be that example, lead with the example, right?
Absolutely, that's it.
Yeah.
You can't push people. That's not leading.
Yeah.
Leading is
Well,
going there first.
yeah. Well, Mira, this was a lovely conversation, and you really gave us a lot of good advice, some nice exercises. Now, of course, like you mentioned, it's hard to do those things by yourself, especially if it's something that's been bothering you for a while. Um, just reach out to Mira. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted
Yeah,
to say?
I've just remembered something that could be useful.
Sure. Go ahead.
They are so cards that I love them. This is how I started years ago. This was where I was learning from, but it was really interesting to. So these are for belief buster cards, and each card has, oh, where's the camera, has a little question, and takes your mind in a certain direction for you to discover something that you didn't know. So this could be an interesting exercise for people. It's quite cool. It's quite easy to do, and everything. And the only thing you really need to do is to have something on mind that is a problem or a difficulty or an obstacle or something you want clarity on, and read the card and see what, if you get to have any insights about it.
Oh, wow. Well, do you happen to know where we can buy those cards?
I actually, I think they are. I mean, here it's Salad. I think I got them on Amazon years ago when Amazon just started. But Salad, they're called Salad cards. It's a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool, interesting thing. I mean, it looks really interesting. I'm gonna go and Google that myself because things like that can really come in handy sometimes.
Yeah. You just pick a card and see what happens. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to think too much about what is
Yeah.
going on.
Cool. Well, Mira, as I was saying, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you for all the value that you've shared with the audience. And all the best. Happy Monday,
Thank
and
you very
happy
much.
rest of the week. I will be seeing you soon on our private Zoom call. We are also very much looking forward to next time when Peter will be again with us in a few weeks' time, I think. So, we'll have a
Sure.
lot of the Griffiths family in the coming weeks. So that's great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Take
much,
care.
Monica, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so guys, this was Mira. Last week we had Peter, and I think in like 2 or 3 weeks we'll have Peter again. But next time I think we will be talking more about leadership. Last week we were talking about Clubhouse, and if you haven't seen that episode, I really, really strongly suggest that you have a look because Peter really dived deeply into how to use Clubhouse. For you who don't know what Clubhouse is, well, you have to Google that. But if you know, and if you're trying to use it, and if you're trying to be mindful and practical about using it as a marketing tool, then Peter gave us a lot of great insights. And he's not a marketeer. He was just sharing his own personal experience with the app. So I think that's even a greater added value. And today we had Mira. They are working together. They have a company together, and Mira is really, really great when it comes to leadership and when it comes to this limiting beliefs and stuff like that. So if you resonated with this episode, then I really strongly suggest that you check her out, either the website that she mentioned or just connect with her on LinkedIn and say hi. I'm sure she will be happy to have a conversation. And, it really isn't easy to get rid of those inner demons when there's a lot of them. So, if you've been dealing with that for a while, the chances are that, it's something that's highly emotional for you. And whenever there are big emotions involved, emotions always cloud our vision. And the best relationship to have with those things is a logical one. So we need somebody to hold our hand and to just guide us through those crazy times. But another Monday. Happy Monday to everybody again. Feel free to comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and again, next Monday we'll be back with another Monday interview. I know already that you will love all my next guests. We are quite booked now, I think, until somewhere in the middle of April or something. So these interviews will continue as planned. And do let me know if you would want me to invite a certain guest or talk about a certain topic. or just, any kind of feedback. I mean, sometimes some of you slide into my DMs, and it's really nice to get your feedback, see what you like, what more do you want, and so on. So yeah, I'm going way too long, so I'm just gonna put on the photo, and I'm gonna say goodbye, and I'll see you again next Monday. Bye.